Good evening, everyone. Today is lesson 7. We're going to be talking about grouping of notes. My name is John Akiyemi. In the last class, we talked about time signature, and our teacher took us through the definition of time signature, explained that time signature is a combination of two numbers, one above and the other below. He explained that it's also found at the beginning of every music piece, immediately after the key signature. He also explained that the number above tells us of the quantity, while the number below talks about the quality, which is the value. The number below helps us to identify the principal beat in each bar. And with this understanding, we're going to be talking to the learning objectives for this particular class. At the end of this class, we hope that you'll be able to learn how to apply appropriate groupings to individual or wrongly grouped notes, and also how to avoid the use of ties while you are constructing a piece. Note groupings in simple time signature. There are some conventions about the ways in which notes are grouped together. They can help the performer to read music easily and quickly. The standard practice is to avoid ties where possible. Now, there are certain rules of note grouping, and this is what this class is going to focus on, the rules of note grouping. When you're grouping notes in simple time signature, we must keep these rules in mind. Please take note that when we talk about grouping of notes, we also mean beaming notes together in this particular context. So beaming is trying to explain, like you can see in the item number 1, you know your quiver notes. When you have two quavers separately, you can beam them together the way you can see in the first example. You know, two quavers, it means one crotchet beat. So if two quavers can give you one crotchet beat, when you have two quavers in a bar and the time signature is 2/4, then you are allowed to beam the two quavers together instead of having them stand alone separately. It looks more tidy when you beam the two quavers together. That's really the lesson here. And the idea, just like what was said in the previous slide, is to ensure that music reading, sight singing, sight playing is easier, performance is easier. So you beam two notes together and you can then have two quavers beamed together. You can see in the case of a 3/4, for instance, you can also still beam two quavers together to give you one crotchet. So those are examples. That's the first type of example of beaming that works. And like I said, beaming is the same thing as a grouping of notes. The second is beaming together 4 quavers, which could be replaced by a meaning. So the time signature in this case is 2/4, then very well, then you can beam 4 quavers together. When you beam the 4 quavers together, 2/4 means 2 crotchets beats in a bar. That means in one bar you can have 1 meaning beat. So you can beam all the 4 quavers together and you'll be fine. There are different people talking about different perspectives to beaming in a 2/4 time signature. But what you should note is that you can do this, beam the 4 together. Some may argue for you to maybe beam 2 together, beam another 2 together, but the rule, you can beam from 4 together. Same thing with the 3/4. You can beam 4 together, so you have 4 quavers representing 1 meaning, and then you have 1 crotchet. So 3/4 says 3 quiver beats in a bar. If you count the number of quavers, is 4. 4 quavers will give you 2 crochets. So 2 crochets plus 1 crochet that is standing alone will then give us 3 crochets. Like I said, 3/4 is 3 crochet beats in a bar. And then the next is 4/4. 4/4 is 4 crochet beats in a bar. You must take note of the difference here. We have 8 quavers in this particular bar, and those 8 quavers were not beamed together all through. So it was beamed in the group of 4s. And so there's a rule there, and that will lead us to the third point in this rule of notes grouping. When you are grouping in a 4/4 time signature, talking to the simple time signature, 4/4 time signature, we must ensure that we don't beam together notes across the middle of that bar. So there should be a distinction in the middle of the bar. So you can see in the third point, it says in a 4/4 time signature, do not beam quavers across the middle of a bar. That means don't beam quavers between the second and third beats. You must take note of that. You can see the wrong way to beam in the first example, and in the next example we can see the right way to beam. So please ensure that you don't beam across the middle of the bar. Try and separate it when you see that the quavers are across the middle of a 4/4 bar, and that's something to note. Will be tested, will definitely be tested, or will likely be tested in the exam. Another rule that we must take note of as we round off this particular class is that you avoid ties where possible. Do not write ties within a bar. Where you can use a single note or a dotted note, see examples. For instance, you see that there is a time signature of 4/4 and a time signature of 4/4. You could easily have used a semi-brief to explain the number of beats that you want it to produce. There is no need to tie two minims when trying to, you're the one writing the music now, for instance. Instead of you to just write one semi-brief without tie two minims, there's no point in doing that. It's not like it's wrong, but like I said, the idea of grouping is to ensure that you make it easier for the music performer. So you can use ties when it's across bars. So you need to tie different notes across bars, then you can use a tie. But it's in the same bar, then there's no point using a tie. Why don't you just use one note, or you use a dot to express it, as you can see in the second example. So instead of doing a minim and a quiver and then using a tie, or rather a minim and a crochet and using a tie, why don't you just use a dotted minim, and then they give you that same answer, give you the same thing you're trying to achieve. And in the third case, you have a case of using a minim instead of using two crochets and then tying it together. Yeah, so this is something we should learn. Like I said, yes, in the second bit, you can see we are putting the sign as wrong. It's not like as if it is practically wrong to do it. We are saying that it is inappropriate. It's not the best possible solution. There's a better way of doing it. So you must take note of that. The better way of doing it is what is on the left side, and that's what we've called correct. Take note of that, and that's very important. Thank you. That will bring us to the end of today's class. I have a few questions here that we hope that you'll be able to do after this class. Please make sure you look into it and do it. And once you're done, try and test your knowledge, share your answers with people that could help to market, and that will help you to prepare for the exam. Basically, what we've been able to do today is to explain the note groupings in simple time signature. We've been able to also explain the rules of note grouping. The next topic we'll be talking about staves. Next topic we'll be talking about staves. Please ensure to understand all of these things that we've learned before now, because that knowledge would help to accumulate into understanding what the next topic will be taking us through. Thank you so much for today's class. Let's have a wonderful week. See you in the next class. Bye.